Okay, thank you, everybody. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about model health and data checking with regards to Revit, but the principles would apply to any software and any kind of modeling or models that you are producing. So thanks, Pat, for the introduction, but it's a little bit about my background. Building services, construction, architecture, been using Revit for longer than I care to remember, and I've been using the Ideate software tools for just as long. So the key objectives, what we're going to learn today, so we're going to understand which issues can affect the model health. We're going to review the importance of addressing those health concerns in your Revit model and why it's important to include this in any kind of BIM execution plan or documentation. We understand why reviewing the Revit warnings is critical to the health and success of your projects. We're going to review the key areas that should be included as part of your Revit health checks. And we will demonstrate a little bit about how the Ideate software products can help as part of your model health checking processes. This isn't a sales pitch, by the way. So what is model health? Well, I think we can break it down into sort of three key areas, really. The performance of your model, how's the model performing? Is it crashing regularly? Can you be easily used? Data integrity, that's the key thing. Is your model contain the data you need it to contain? And when you're issuing your models out to other parties, does it meet their requirements and any client requirements? And then thirdly, productivity. Can you do what you need to do within your model? Is the model hindering you in any way to help you produce the documentation and information that you need to produce? So we're just going to look at some of the key issues here. So you want to prevent those performance issues. You want to stop your model being slow and clunky. You don't want your users saying, oh, CAD's much better, it never used to crash. You want your models to performing the way they should. So you want to prevent those models from crashing. You want to prevent any issues when you're saving your files. You want to prevent any exporting and printing issues, because that's the key part of your deliverable. So you want to make sure that you're not having any issues there. You want to prevent any upgrade issues. So when you're upgrading your models to the next version, and it doesn't work properly. I've had these issues myself where we're trying to move to the next version of Revit, but the model has got certain things in it that will stop the model from upgrading. So you could be preventing the whole project team from moving on to the next version. So that's a key issue. And then you want to keep alignment with any company or project standards. And then finally, incorrect data. That's key. We're talking about data on this stage. So you want to make sure that you are issuing the correct data to your clients. So what's the goal here? We want to keep that project team happy. We want to keep the project stakeholders happy. We want to make sure that we keep the model smooth so that the end product is a successful project. So we're just going to look at some of these issues that can lead to problems within your model. So content is a key one, and referencing to what Paul said earlier about jump onto technology. A lot of manufacturers tend to try and cram everything into their objects. That can cause problems. Families which have been over-modeled contain too much geometry. They can also cause lots of issues. I've highlighted some of the key things that I've encountered over the years of working with BIM. So CAD files are notoriously tricky to work with. We still have to use CAD. There's no getting away from that. But how we use this information is key. So we don't want to be exploding those CAD files because that brings through lots of other data, additional stars that can bloat your model and cause issues with your Revit model as well. Excessive warnings. So we're going to talk a little bit about warnings a bit later. You want to keep those warnings down because warnings do really cause problems within the model health and the way your files can perform. So you want to keep those down to a minimum. Careless software programming. Have you got that software programmer in your business who's creating all these wonderful apps? Are they doing what they should be doing? Are they leaving any residue behind in your models? Is it causing your files to crash? Is it causing other add-ins to crash? So it's something else to be aware of. It's not immediately obvious. And then finally, the last one is a lack of a BIM execution plan. Has there been particular data requirements requested? Are you meeting those requirements? If there's no information requirements than what's going in your models. What are you issuing out to your other consultant team? Is this data relevant or is it not relevant? So remembering that, so the model health and standards typically a progressive problem. They start off small, but as time goes on, they can get bigger and bigger. And then obviously the end result of that is crashes, problems with the model, crashes, team members losing time, etc., etc. So talked a little about warnings earlier. So Revit warnings, are they important? Yes, they are. I mean, this has been based on some research that we've done ourselves and with our customers. And there's just some of the things that can how warnings can affect your model. So there could be, cause your model to perform slowly, sluggishly. They can obviously cause slow synchronization times with the central model. Incorrect schedule data, that's a key issue. If you've got duplicate elements within your model, they report in the schedule as additional elements, and that could lead to issues when you're issuing your data out to other consultants. Model inaccuracy, yes, that's another one. Upgrade issues, which I've talked about. This can all be caused by those pesky Revit warnings. And then the biggest threat is that it will always increase the size of the model and slow your model down, so it becomes slower for your teams to work on. Models crash, everyone has to come out of the model. It's wasting time and productivity. So we did a little bit of research to this. Was it a myth that too many warnings make a model slow? You hear this all the time on blogs and online posts, etc. So we did some testing internally, and the answer is yes, they do make your model slow. So as you can see, the example there shows a model with some warnings and then a model without the warnings. And we did a number of tasks and timed those tasks to see how the model performed with those warnings and without the warnings. So the fewer warnings will make your models run smoother. So the message here is resolve those warnings. So no matter how you are doing it or what you're doing, it should be something you're addressing on a pretty regular basis to keep those down. Otherwise, you could lead to performance issues further down the line. And it's important to understand what those different types of warnings are, how to address them, and how to deal with them. So I'm talking about Revit and models. What's this got to do with data governance? Well, everything, really. We're putting more and more information in our models these days, so it's important that that data is correct and relevant to the project that you are working on. So poor data in your model will mean you've got poor data at handover, and you could end up your clients aren't getting the information that they require. Typically, if you're working with something like COBie as well, this needs to be properly checked and audited. So how are you going to check all this information, these information requirements? So Ideate Software, we've developed a suite of applications for Revit that can help with that data management and just general day-to-day use of the tools to help your models become cleaner and work faster and be more efficient. So the first tool, we have Ideate BIM Link, which is a tool to manage your Revit data with Excel, so we can push the model data out to Excel and use Excel to do the checking and et cetera, and push that data back into the model for keeping your models healthy and clean. So one example would be if you're producing COBie data, we've developed our own COBie templates that you can use to export this data out of Revit into Excel. Once in Excel, you can run checks on that data, copy that information or take information from the COBie templates which you've created, push it all together, and then once you've checked it and audited that data, you can push that information back into your model to make sure you've got the correct parameters, so that when you're coming to doing your COBie information exchanges, you've got the right parameters, you've got everything you need for that part of your COBie deliverable. We also have link definitions that are specifically designed to help with project standards and quality control. And a case study from one of our customers recently, they were tasked to produce project health reports on a weekly basis so that the client could track how the models were developing as through the different design stages. So the key performance indicators they were being asked for were the number of elements in the model, is there code required, are the elements named correctly? So they used a custom link definition with Ideate BIM link. They could export the information once they'd filled in all those parameters, and then produce their own summary sheets, which they could use to track the development of the model, which they could then keep a track of and keep progress of, and relay that information to their clients as they were being asked to do. We have another tool called Ideate Explorer that has a built-in warnings manager, so we can use this tool to review those warnings which we've just spoken about, and we've developed a ranking system to identify the most problematic warnings so that you can identify which ones need to be addressed first over some of the other warnings, and this information can be exported out of Ideate Explorer also into an Excel file, and we can then display this information in Power BI dashboard. Who doesn't love a dashboard? So we're no different. We've got our own templates. We can push this data into these different tools to display the information on a regular, on a weekly or monthly basis. And we have other templates that can display the warnings over time and other information that we want to produce. And then we have another solution which we've just released called Ideate Automation, and this is a tool to automatically extract information out of your models. But one of the key reasons is for Revit project health data. We're being asked this a lot by our customers, so we developed a solution to automatically pull the information out of your models on a regular basis. So you could do this on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, generate those Excel reports, push that information back into a Power BI dashboard, or we have our own templates that can read all this information, format that information, just to give you some sort of key project health metrics, such as warnings, number of elements, and other things. So we've developed lots of tools to help with this whole auditing process. And we have another script that will analyze your Revit families, so we can pull out information about the Revit families contained within particular models. So the example there is showing me that I've got 60 megabyte families. That's not good. I can identify those ones that need to be addressed, clean them up, push them back in the model, and that will hopefully solve some of the performance issues that I may be experiencing. And there's just a slide to show where our tools are being used, what tools can you use for which task, and how best to use them to help the health of your Revit models. So finally, model audits and auditing should be a priority, and keep these, schedule them regularly so that you can keep your models in good working order. You might want to do that on a regular basis after project milestones. You might want to do this weekly. Whenever you do it, it's important that we keep a track on how your models are performing. Model maintenance is every team member's responsibility. Don't just leave it to your BIM manager to sort out. Everyone should be responsible for the health of the model. Everyone's working on the model, so everyone should be responsible for making sure it is performing the best it can. And then ensure those audits and health checks are part of your BIM execution plans, because it is important to keep those projects running smoothly so that everybody's happy and you're delivering a successful project with the right data at the right time. Thank you very much.